Hi, I'm Chris with Premier Guitar. We're at the Montreal Guitar Show, and we're visiting with Michael Greenfield, who's going to talk about a pair of very stunning guitars that he's got. Michael, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So this guitar, just like every inch of it, there's something on it that's just really amazing. Can you tell us about how it came about and what it's designed to do?
I was called, I received a call about a year ago from an individual in Colorado who has a lot of interesting guitars. And he actually bought one of the guitars that I made for Charlie Hunter that was very similar to this one. And he said, "This is it. I don't need any more guitars. This guitar is doing everything that I needed to do." Not because the guitar itself is so special, I guess, but he was frustrated by the limitations of certain other guitars. And because of the fan fret setup on that guitar, it worked very well with the tunings that he liked to use. So he contacted me because that guitar was a nylon string guitar and he wanted something similar in a steel string guitar. So we began the dialogue. We spoke about the tunings that he likes to use. We talked about his playing style and all the things that I normally talk about with my clients. And luckily, I had a cancellation, which unfortunately these days has happened a lot. But fortunately for me, I have enough of a backlog that between people who call in and some of the backlog of people who would like to move up in the queue, I have filled all those spaces. So he filled a space about a year on after he called, and this guitar is the result of that phone call.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of the features here? And the fan fret
Sure.
idea really is about making each string have its own scale length so
Right.
that they all respond equally, the same volume all the way up and down.
It's a little more basic than that, actually. I have become sort of one of the fan fret guys. I make an awful lot of them. This year, out of 16 guitars, 7 of them were fan fret guitars. So it's almost half of my production. Um, Fan fret guitars in one form or another have been around for at least 150 years. Ralph Novak of Novak's Guitars had a patent on it which recently expired, but I still refer to it and give him credit because he's a hell of a guy, and none of us are doing this to get rich, so we all sort of deserve a little pat on the back. So this is the Novak's fan fret, fretboard system, whatever you want to call it. This particular guitar is 25.5-inch scale length on the treble side and 28.6 on the bass side. And this guitar is tuned from a low A of a bass guitar to a D, which would be B string, 3rd fret. The difference between this and the conventional guitar, on a conventional guitar you have 6 strings, each of which are getting fatter, and they continuously get lower in pitch, and they're sharing a common scale length. And the small amount of compensation that we do is really a little bit silly. And it's like trying to build a mandolin and a contrabass on the same instrument, which is exactly what's going on. If you look at a pipe organ, as the notes of the organ get lower, the pipes get longer and longer and longer. So that's really what's going on here. The high notes and the high strings have a shorter scale length. The low notes have a scale length almost that of a bass guitar, in this case, a short scale bass guitar. So what it does is it allows the lowest fundamental of each note to speak very clearly. This, as we spoke a little bit earlier, is a very small, this is my G1 body, which is essentially an OM size body. It's not very deep, but this guitar will play the A off of a bass guitar rock solid. There's no wobble. It plants its proprietary flag, and all the way up. All the notes speak clearly. Also because of that, I have balance from string to string. There's, of course, more to it than that. I spent a lot of time calculating string tensions, et cetera, to get the strings to speak equally. But the lesson in this is that proper scale length is much more important than body size. People think that in order to obtain those low notes, you need something the size of a contrabass, which actually you do, but the human ear is funny. It plays tricks on us, and it sort of fills in the blanks acoustically to the things that we don't actually hear. But if the scale length is such that it allows the string to speak properly, you can fool yourself into hearing that clarity of the note. This back bracing, it's a radial back bracing, which is proprietary. Can you see? Actually, if you look in here, maybe you can see some of the stuff. Are you able to?
A little bit.
Anyway, all of my guitars, concert classicals, steel strings, they all have this radial back bracing. And recently, about a year ago, I started doing that flying saucer circular thing, which is the tone halo, which is trademarked to me. I really view the back of the guitar as a secondary soundboard. And my good friend Julius Borges once said, most people think the back is there to keep the dust out. Well, it's not. I mean, it does keep the dust out, but it's the interaction between the back of the guitar and the top of the guitar, coupled through the air column, and the two of them work together, and that's what makes things sound good. So this is how I treat the back as a secondary soundboard. I find I get a much more responsive instrument, and it's a completely different voice, which is a lot of contemporary fingerstylists love it, and traditionalists, well, it's not so much. They prefer that Martin Gibson sound, which is why there are so many people making guitars. For somebody who's looking for an instrument with that really piano-type response and very evenly voiced from string to string and all across the fretboard right up to the top fret, these might be type of instruments that they should check out, whether made by myself or by some of my colleagues.
So people that are interested in your guitars, where can they find you online?
Greenfieldguitars.com.
Easy enough. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I'm Chris Burgess. You're watching PremierGuitar.com.